Ladies, have you been led astray? Did you diddle where maybe you shouldn't have dabbled? Have you been unfaithful to your husband, wife, partner, main squeeze? Well, there's a judgment-free podcast just for you. Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity, hosted by Rebecca Adams, tells the stories of these women from their perspective, anonymously and without judgment.
I met the first man I had an emotional affair with online. He was far away, but he provided me with all of the emotional validation that my marriage was lacking. The first time we talked, he showed an interest in me as a person. It was refreshing.
If you need to come clean, get it off your chest, confess your sins with no Hail Marys required, then Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity is the podcast for you. And remember, it's completely anonymous and judgment-free.
Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe today.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Do you know there's a better way to experience music today?
Why, yes, I do. Campfire Audio makes top-notch quality earphones for music lovers alike. Whether you're a musician, producer, or audiophile, Campfire has the perfect product for you. Campfire Audio springs from a passionate focus on refined audio reproduction. With a small team of highly skilled and dedicated craftspeople, they continuously experiment with materials and techniques to create something unique and special for the people who care most about it.
Prototypes turn into a world-class earphone. Each model in their earphone line is designed and assembled by hand in Portland, Oregon's workshop. Their earphones are second to none in performance and finish. With their new plastic models, Satsuma and Honeydew, Campfire Audio has designed a day-to-day earphone for the audiophile on the go.
Let's not forget its flagship model, Andromeda, an award-winning industry standard.
Rest assured that when you purchase a Campfire Audio earphone, you're the proud owner of a world-class product from a company that is confidently standing behind everything it creates.
That's right. Check out campfireaudio.com for all your high-end earphone needs. That's Campfire Audio, CampfireAudio.com for all your high-end earphone needs.
I'm doing that immediately. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Guess what? Our favorite sponsor is back.
Oh, it's the Puzzle Dude from Unidragon.
Hey, you know, everyone faces a problem. What gift to choose? What to give a friend or parent? How about that wife or husband? Or what about that child or even that colleague at work?
I know what you need to get them.
What's that?
Wooden puzzle.
Wooden puzzles like Unidragon solve this problem.
Get the owl.
Why do people love Unidragon puzzles?
Because each piece has a unique shape.
Mike, do you know that Unidragon now has nature puzzles?
All right, we need more owls.
Now they're small, medium, king size, and royal size. So you can get 7 times bigger than the standard puzzle. So if you want to get upgraded in your puzzles, now's the time to go to Unidragon.com. Again, that's Unidragon.com. Don't be fooled by other imitation puzzle makers. Only get your true puzzle from Unidragon.com. They're the best, and they're the world's leader in wooden puzzles. TechTime listeners, use promo code DRAGONTECH. Again, that's DRAGONTECH for a 10% discount code. They're no longer 3 sizes, Mike. Guess how many they are now?
They're 4 sizes.
That's right. They're 4 sizes. Make sure to visit techtimeradio.com/sponsors and click on the Order Now button to go directly to Unidragon. Our #1 sponsor says thank you.
That's awesome. We need more owls.
Coming to you from the shores of the Pacific Northwest, keeping you up to date on technology, while enjoying a little whiskey on the side, with leading-edge topics, along with special guests, to navigate technology in a segmented, stylized radio program. The information that will make you go, Pull up a seat, raise a glass with our hosts, as we spend the next hour talking about technology for the common person. Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm.
Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm. The show that makes you go, technology news of the week. The show for the everyday common person with insightful segments on subjects weeks ahead of the mainstream media. Wow, I haven't been even drinking a little bit.
So phonics work for you, didn't it?
There you go. I'm Nathan Mumm. Welcome to our live stream show. If you are watching us on YouTube, on twitch.tv, on Facebook, you can be watching us live only Saturdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Because if you're watching us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not 4 to 6, And Sunday, you're catching a rebroadcast. And to find out more information about our show, if you're listening to a rebroadcast, you can go and visit us at techtimeradio.com. Again, that's techtimeradio.com. And make sure you're up to date with all the latest information.
Brought to you by Captain Obvious.
That's right.
Somebody's got to say that line right now.
That's right. So you know what? Mr. Gourdet is at home again. So this is week 2 of his COVID-19, what do you want to say?
Recovery
process. So as we all know, Mike was vaccinated. And he caught the Delta variant, and so
but he's doing better.
Yes, and he's doing better. So we played a couple games. He was on our Thursday staff meeting. He was kind of coughing up a lung a little bit still, but he will definitely be back next week. He was really excited to be there. He'll probably be online a little bit during some of these Twitch chat radio stuff. So if there's anybody on there, some grumpy old man, then you know that's going to be Mike in there. Chomping on in. We're a 2-hour technology show. We got so much stuff to cover today. If you look at our set, it's a little different today. You know what? We got a special segment that our staff was thinking it would be very good to talk about. So I used to work at Microsoft in the 90s, and so we are going to do a 3-part segment. Part 1 is this week. Part 2 will be next week, and then part 3 the week after. That is about Microsoft in the 90s.
You know, they make TV shows about tech companies in the 90s.
They do, and those are kind of a big deal. So we're going to do a little bit of what was going on at that time, and then you're going to hear a lot of Nathan's little nuggets of how he worked there, what he did. So it'll either be really a huge hit, and everybody will think it's fantastic, or it'll maybe a huge bomb, and then we'll be in trouble. So we only have 3 weeks of it, though, so if it's a horrible thing, then we then
it's
we
a
can
mini-series, right? Limited series.
It's a limited series. That is correct.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, those Netflix type of deals that you go through and you'll say like limited edition. So this is limited edition, but yet you can watch it on the internet forever after we post it. So I guess it's not that limited. All right. Well,
just like Netflix.
That's right. On our first hour, we have a couple segments. We got what are big tech companies doing going back to work? Is it becoming a normal process? Or are they delaying it? And a special segment we call Back to the Office. So it'll Back to the Future, Back to the Office. We're going to be talking about Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook and what they're planning to do for their employees. We also then are going to be talking about Microsoft back in the 90s. As I talked about, we got some older floppy disks, a lot of floppy disk stuff here. So I brought in floppy disks. And do you know what these are right here? These are...
What is that?
This is 300 spectacular sound effects on CDs. This is what you would have to purchase before the internet. We have clip art and other things. You couldn't just go to the internet and get sound effects. You had to purchase these, load them on your computers at home, and then have those sound effects for what you needed to take care of for any video editing or anything that you did. So very different type of era. We're going to be talking a lot about 5 1/4 floppy disks. We're going to be talking about double density size 3.5 floppy disks and a lot of different unique items.
No zip disks here, though.
No zip disks. No zip disks came in the 90s. They were pretty popular. I actually have some at home, so that's probably we're only going to 1995.
Okay.
So Microsoft to 1995. Now the big blue zip disks that were out there, the Omega drives and everything like that, is like 96, 97 time frame. So we're going to do up to 95, then we're going to probably do 96 to 98. And then we'll do 98 and 99 just in those 2 years because there was a lot of technology changes that happened. So, in our second hour, and then we also have Just the Facts by Jonathan. He's got a couple of recaps on stories that we talked about last week, so he's going to bring those back in the facts section. We're also going to be talking about Google Pixel 6, the iPhone now, and a bunch of other stuff that Apple is going to be doing regarding photographies. Then on the second hour, we have our letters segment. We have Protect Yourself Today. We're going to be talking about breaches and cybersecurity issues that are going on. And then we also have a special segment that we're going to be talking about on Gamer Time that specifically talks about game development kits and what happens if they get out into the wrong hands. Game development kits are what essentially companies put on out so that developers can program and get stuff ready to go for big launches. We're going to be talking about what happens in that hardware, on the software back end, and a bunch of interesting stories. And then we may have a He Said What segment. There's a very end segment that is a very interesting segment, and sometimes people should close their mouths and not talk when they're in corporate environments. Somebody said something a little bit costly to a company. We'll be talking about that also.
These aren't things that Nathan has said, right?
No, these are not Nathan said. No, these are the... No, I would not say what the He Said What thing. I would not say that ever. So, no. Again, stay up to date with all the information at techtimeradio.com. Jonathan, we're going to start out with our loaded question of the day.
All right, what
as
is
we
it?
do to Mike. So this is the question here. Oh, that's a real... No, I'm going to do this one. I think this is a better one. What do you hate paying for?
Okay, well, other than taxes, which is like an easy answer, but you get something out of taxes. Something I absolutely hate paying for is going to a restaurant and paying for a food that is supposed to come with your meal, specifically like a curry.
Okay.
So there are restaurants.
Yeah.
You go and you'll order a curry, but it doesn't come with the rice.
So what are you going to do with the curry? You just have the curry and the sauce then?
You don't eat the curry by itself.
Correct.
You eat it on a rice.
Yeah.
But the rice is going to cost you $3 or $4 more to get the single serving of rice to go with your curry. Which, if you're ordering it at a restaurant, you're ordering two things for your one meal.
Yeah.
It would be like if you went to an Italian restaurant and you said, I want the red sauce, and now it says, okay, well, your spaghetti noodles are $3 more. Do you ever have that?
I have not had that, no.
No, it's just crazy. So paying for something that should be included with a meal in order to make it to eat it is something I absolutely hate paying for. Just make it part of the meal.
Okay. Okay. You know what? I would agree with you. I also don't like paying a lot of money for food either, because food comes in and it comes out. So it's a non consumable product of anything. People say, well, if you pay more money to get great food, it tastes great. But you know what? 10 hours later, that food that you put in your body is gone. So I don't get paying money for good food either. But that's okay. I'm a cheapo on that. All right. But hopefully you're not a cheapo, and hopefully that, but the best thing, Dick's Burgers. You can go buy cheapo Dick's Burgers, and those things are the best things. 3 of those fill you up. A cheeseburger for $1.19, boom, and you're ready to go. Okay. All right. So that was our loaded question of the day.
And if you're not from the Seattle area, be careful when you're Google searching that. So.
Dick's Burgers? Oh, yeah, probably not a good thing to do. But
you better add the word restaurant when you Google it if you're outside the area.
That's right. That'd be very good. Now, if you want to join us on the show, we're going to have a little bit of time, probably the second hour. So you can call us at 425-373-5527 or 188-298-KKNW. Again, that's 188-298-KKNW-5569. And if you got a question, David will ask us, and we may get you on the air. All right, we're going to move right now into our first segment of the day.
What's happening in the world of technology? This is our top stories in the first 5 minutes.
All right, our top story number 1. The Google Pixel 6 is official.
It is. I've got a 4A right here.
Do you like the Google Pixel? I mean, the Samsung and Google Pixels are the 2 Android phones to really have,
They
right?
are.
I mean, if you're going to do
the top
one,
flagship Android phones.
yeah, you're going to have one of those, and you're going to be in pretty good shape. I loved my Pixel 2. My Pixel 2 that I had, a Google Pixel 2, and I've had Samsung phones because I carry 2 phones, right? I carry an iPhone and I carry an Android phone just so I can make sure I know how each of them are working. One's business and one's a little bit more for personal.
Yep.
But essentially there was lots of leaks that were happening online, so Google just decided they're going to come on out with it. Google has admitted, though, that the Pixel 6 Pro will have an expensive price tag, with estimates of $999 is what they're throwing out there just to be safe. So maybe more.
Which is the price of any new iPhone.
It is. So it's not hugely different, but a lot of Android phones, when people think of Android phones, they normally think of that $499, $599 price point that you'd pay, not the $999, but it's going to be expensive. Now, it comes with a brand new chip called the Tensor that is designed to provide the Pixel 6 with a bunch of AI powers. So this is pretty interesting. The Google's 6 killer option is that it's going to have the ability to take photos real time and fix blurriness. So let's say you take a picture of a child.
Yep.
The face is blurry.
The kid's always running.
Yeah,
so you never get a clear picture.
So you never get it will actually have the AI that as you take that picture, it will slow it down. It will actually re-image it. So when you look at it a half a second later, it will come on out as a clear picture.
Which would be pretty huge because my 4A doesn't do that.
It doesn't. And
I get a blurry kid every other photo.
Even the Apple products still. If your kid's moving, you're still going to get a blurry picture. It also has the ability to do real-time translation. So this is something that the Olympics was having with the text-to-speech aspects right now. So if you're over at the Olympics, when we talked about it 2 weeks ago, so you weren't on the show here, Mike was there, but they have real-time, essentially, the communicators you'd think of for Star Trek, right? So you're talking in there and you can hear it in a different language. It's like a half a second delay at the Olympics. I can speak in my Nathan version of English, And then the other person's going to hear it in Japanese. They'll hear it in a native language. This AI also is supposed to be able to do speech to text real time or with a slight delay is what they're saying. So you probably can't do it exactly real time. But it has the ability also to correct and edit words on the keyboard even when you're speaking and typing. So you could be talking, and if I want to type it at the same time within the app itself, I could be texting and typing at the same time. So Pixel
it's hard
6,
enough to type and talk at the same time.
Well,
Anyway.
I don't know how the people do the splits. I see all these kids nowadays where they turn their phones and it's like a split keyboard that they're typing on, so you have half the words.
One for each thumb.
Oh, yeah, I'm still Give me back the original BlackBerry.
You need your
device.
BlackBerry back.
I could type on that. I could do like 60 words per minute on the BlackBerry. So if they ever do come back, I would be the first to jump in line and grab one of those. I tell you, those mechanical keyboards were phenomenal. All right, story number 2. We're going to go right into Apple. Apple plans to scan U.S. iPhones for child abuse imagery. And I've got some audio here from one of our correspondents.
Apple is planning to scan iPhones here in the United States for images of child abuse. Apple says it'll use a tool called Neural Match. It detects known images of child sexual abuse without decrypting people's messages. This move is drawing applause from child protection groups, but some security researchers say they're concerned that the system could be misused by governments looking to spy on people who might be dissidents or protesters.
This is a big thing. So I'm going to be I got to be careful what I say.
And this is going to be controversial.
It is very controversial. Is it good that we're now having a device scan our photos and then reporting back? Now, child abusers shouldn't exist, right? So they're bad people. Let's absolutely say that that's horrible.
Absolutely.
Anybody that's doing any of those child porn things or any of that type of stuff, all those people,
rot in jail forever.
Yeah, they're taking up my oxygen on the earth. If they disappear, I'd be okay. But you're going to have a company now going through your photos and making a determination. What if I dressed up for Halloween and I got a beat up face and my kid's all dressed up to be beat up and we look like we just were in a boxing match or something like that? Is that going to get flagged? Is that the possibility? What happens if my kid just fell down and he got all bruised up? Is that going to get flagged?
Well, there is a stored database that they're getting from the government of their known image base that they're trying to match against to track the kids that might have already photos that are in this database. So the potential of a flagging, they say, is very rare.
Okay.
And it's human reviewed anyway, so that they won't take an automated action on this. It's all human reviewed before any action gets taken.
Which is nice. So it's not like a Facebook deal where they'll just
ban you.
They'll just ban you or think you're doing something automated wise, and then it takes weeks to get back to you. Okay, story number 3, quickly, because we're out of time there. Thank you, David. Virginia Galactic tickets, Virgin. Sorry, did I say Virginia? I did.
Yeah.
Virgin Galactic tickets on sale once again, starting for $450K to go to space.
Oh, I can purchase it next week then.
So Richard Branson's Aerospace and Space Travel Company is essentially opening up tickets again for the Spaceship Two vehicle. The cheapest ticket, of course, is that just under $500,000.
Right.
So the announcements followed up that the Unity 22 was such a success, that's where he went up to on his flight, that they're now going to do it on the Unity 23, so you can buy tickets for that. Now, the Unity 23 is slated to go to space, which I don't know if it's really space. It's out of orbit. So I think he kind of fudges. I think some of these other billionaires really go to space, but I think Virgin is a little bit on the gray area. Is that really space? It's the atmosphere. I get it. But they're going to be going up with a spaceport in New Mexico. The flight will also be a partnership with the Italian Air Force. So would you pay $500,000 to go to orbit? I wouldn't say space, but to go to orbit.
I mean, if I had $500,000 to weigh, I would consider all of my space options of the tickets available.
Okay. All right.
And then
I would never do that. You're talking about spending what you hate paying for. I would not pay $500,000 to go to the orbit or space. I don't think it would be any different than
there's still plenty of people out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that will make those decisions. All right, well, that's not for me. So we are going to head on out here to a commercial break. During that time, we're going to be sipping our whiskey. I'm really excited about this whiskey. I know that my co-host here, Jonathan Mumm, may not be as excited about it, but I'm sure that we will get all of that after this commercial break.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Guess what? Our favorite sponsor's back.
Oh, it's the puzzle dude from Unidragon.
That's right, Unidragon. Yep, Unidragon.com. They have a brand new item. It's called the Playful Parrot. It's a 5-in-1 puzzle that comes on out that actually comes all the way up to the brand new size, which is the royal size. Now they're small, medium, king size, and royal size. So you can get 7 times bigger than the standard puzzle. What do you think about the Playful Parrots? Being a pirate adventurer that you are, Mike, what say you?
Oh, the owl's jealous.
The owl's jealous? Uh-oh. What's the owl saying about the parrots?
Oh, there's 5 of them and 1 of him.
That's right. That's what happens. You know what? When you're the original, sometimes you get replaced and upgraded. So if you want to get upgraded in your puzzles, now's the time to go to Unidragon.com. Again, that's Unidragon.com. Don't be fooled by other imitation puzzle makers. Only get your true puzzle from Unidragon.com. They're the best, and they're the world's leader in wooden puzzles. TechTime listeners, use promo code DRAGONTECH. Again, that's DRAGONTECH for a 10% discount code. Discount expires on August 1st, 2021. They're no longer 3 sizes, Mike. Guess how many there are now?
They're 4 sizes.
That's right. They're 4 sizes. Make sure to visit techtimeradio.com/sponsors and click on the Order Now button to go directly to Unidragon. Our number 1 sponsor says thank you, and the owl is jealous. All right. Welcome back to Tech Time Radio. I am your host, Nathan Mumm. We got...
Cool. I really like the owl.
That's
Mike
right.
likes the owl.
Mike likes the owl. That's all right. So I just tell you, if you want to jump on twitch.tv right now and talk to the owl lover himself, there's a grumpy old guy gaming that's on there right now, and I absolutely know that's Mr. Mike Gorday. So if you want to talk to him off the air about what's going on the air, this is your chance to go to twitch.tv/Tech Time Radio, and you can talk to him one-on-one. Mike, hopefully we'll see you here next week and get well. But we are now going to move into our next segment immediately coming right on up here.
Welcome to Technology Insider. We get the information directly from the source.
All right, so directly from the source, the news and information, we're going to be talking about a great story coming on up here that is about companies going back to work. But before that, we have our Warrior Sugar Baby Bourbon, 80 proof, $20. This is a value bottle. Look at that bottle for $20. It's made here in the Pacific Northwest. It's an aged bourbon. It's got brown sugar, cinnamon, packed with flavors, depth, and colors with a long-lasting finish. And what do you think, Jonathan?
Well, the nose definitely brings out that brown sugar sort of caramel smell. Straight out. It's a little light on the cinnamon.
Okay.
And it's definitely a sugared bourbon. So.
You know what? I'm not going to give it a thumbs up yet, but I love this type of, this is my type of sipping bourbon, I'll tell you. I like brown sugar bourbon, and so I go through that, and this is, I think, a step up, because I love that. This would be a step up compared to what I like my brown sugar bourbon. This is one of my top in the shelf so far, so I'm very much liking it. All right, so
let's see how it does on the consecutive sips here.
We'll see if it gets a little bit. It says it's supposed to be served chilled.
It does.
And we don't have it quite chilled 100%. So we maybe are losing it, but I'm still okay with it. All right, so let's go to our Technology Insider. Amazon office workers now won't return until 2022. The previous plan had workers returning in September for Amazon's corporate offices. They are going to be returning to their offices anytime between January, February, and March of next year. The mark delays around 4 months, as the company previously planned had employees returning on September 7th, 2021. Amazon also released updates returning to the office procedures for its employees in June, and it says that they have to wear masks if they're not fully vaccinated. The company says that they can return to the office with guidelines that states the employees could have a hybrid work model, so they could have the ability to do that. Of course, Amazon workers, like the warehouse workers,
they're blue-collar workers.
They're blue-collar workers,
to their
correct.
white-collar workers.
And Whole Food staff have been working throughout the pandemic. In October 2020, Amazon reported that from March 1st to September 19th, 2020, almost 20% of its frontline employees had either tested positive or had the actual positive
reinforcement of COVID-19.
20% of the workforce?
20,000.
20,000
of its front line. So I don't know what percentage that actually is.
Yeah,
20 is that 10%, 5%, 10%? I don't know. But Amazon says that it will require all masks wearing for non-vaccinated employees. So that's what Amazon is doing. Now, let's take a look.
There's other companies, though, that are
What's
following in a
Microsoft?
similar suit,
let's
right?
see what Microsoft's doing. We're going to be talking a little bit about them later. They are requiring a proof of a COVID-19 vaccination to enter any of their buildings in the U.S. It will fully open its office no earlier than October 4th. Microsoft has informed employees that it will require proof of vaccination for anyone entering a Microsoft building starting in September. Employees who have medical conditions or a protected reason, such as religion, that prevents them from getting a vaccination can get a special accommodation. The company also pushed its full office reopening date from September to no earlier than October 4th. So they delayed opening up their offices for everybody to return. Now, Google. Let's see what Google is doing. So Microsoft has, you have to have proof of your vaccination.
Right.
We have Amazon that doesn't necessarily need proof, but they want you to wear a mask if you're not vaccinated.
Right.
I don't know how you go about that without showing proof. I think that's a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen honor systems as the main way that companies are trying to go about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Microsoft said you have to have proof. So
Right.
so that's if you don't have, when you go in and you get vaccinated, you get a card and you get registered that says that you have been vaccinated, so that they're going to want proof. So Google will require employees to be completely vaccinated before returning to the office as the first major tech company to require COVID-19 vaccinations to be a part before you can return. So Microsoft has kind of that little gray area with the religious exceptions and
no exceptions if you're a Googler?
So that Google is none. They're the only they're the first, because other companies have announced it since, but they're going to require that you have been vaccinated. Google will require that employees be vaccinated before they are allowed to return to the company, CEO announced. The announcement makes Google as the first major technology company to require that employees be vaccinated before they return to work. The news comes specifically in spur of the Biden administration report of planning to announce a requirement of federal workers to either be vaccinated or face frequent testing for COVID-19. So they are piggybacking onto that. Now let's talk about Facebook, our favorite company, right? So we talk about Facebook and Amazon all the time on here, and to the point where YouTube sometimes thinks that we are being paid by these people, but no.
But it's another tech company. I would think they would be following exactly the same as the other three so far.
Okay, so Facebook will require U.S. employees to be vaccinated. They're expecting people to follow into the process of being vaccinated to return to work. All of their campuses will require people coming on back to have vaccination information available so that they can have that in medical records to evaluate them before they can return. If you have other religious reasons, situations will evolve and they will do a case-by-case basis. So they're kind of a little bit of the Microsoft.
Right, that sounded just like Microsoft.
Kind of the Microsoft deal, but Facebook expects to reopen its offices fully in October.
That's pretty ambitious.
So they're going to go on back even with the Delta variant. So that is your update on the large technology companies and their current vaccination policies for returning to work. Now, your work. You work for a major, I won't say the name of it, but you work for a major marketing company. Is that the best way? Or consulting?
Professional services company.
Professional services company in the Seattle market. So what is your guys' take on when you guys are returning to work?
Well, I'm not an official spokesperson for the company, so I'm not allowed to say anything like that.
Okay. So is that sooner than later, do you think?
But like all of these other companies, it's evolving all the time. With the Delta variant and with vaccination numbers of the employees, like all of those factors and state-by-state regulations that are changing, companies are having, if you're a large technology company with a presence in more than one state, you have multiple laws and jurisdictions that you have to be under for your employees and what they're required to do by law for the areas that they're working in. So
the HR teams have been really busy this last 2 years.
They sure have been.
You know what? Sometimes I always said, what does HR do? I don't think in the last 2+ years you'd say, what does HR do now? I mean, they got a lot of work to do, and it's always changing.
Right. So even with all of these guidelines here in these states, If half of this happens as they've announced so far, I would be surprised, just because of things have changed so much.
The company I work for, we follow like the CDC guidelines. So that just they made it really simple, just whatever the CDC says. And so sometimes it changes a little bit. The CDC sometimes says you wear a mask, sometimes you say don't.
But you know what all of these companies want?
What do they want?
Profits.
They do.
They want a higher stock price.
And it's very interesting because all of them say that they're really excited to have the remote workforce. If you look at all of these 4 companies, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, and what was the other one? Google. All of them want their employees to return. So they do say out there to sound really good that, hey, we love the work from home type of solution, but they want their employees back. There's a part of being there to get requirements done, large projects done that I think people are missing, and having that interpersonality conversation of what's going on and being able to bounce ideas off isn't the same remote. No matter how good of a Zoom meeting you have, you're not going to ask somebody, hey, what about this code? Hey, what about this? What's going on here? You don't get that same interaction that you have.
You don't. The employee interaction is hard to get.
It is. All right, well, that is our segment, Back to the Office. And we're going to take a commercial break. When we come on back, we are going to have a special 3-part segment here about Microsoft in the 1990s. And it's going to be very entertaining, very interesting. We will figure out if this goes down a divergent that we need to get back to quickly. If people start fading away real quickly, we'll know about that. If nothing else, we'll have our Twitch follower there, Mr. Mike Gorday, will keep us straight to say, hey, make sure you're talking about stuff. But you are not going to want to miss this, because I worked at Microsoft for 10 years, and I've never had these conversations with anybody. This is going to be new for you. You're my brother. You've known me your whole life.
Yep.
And this is going to be new for you. It'll be new for a lot of other ex-employees I've worked with, a lot of other companies. We're not going to get into some secrets or anything that will get me in trouble. But I'm going
because then we'd need that segment of he said what.
That's right. then my NDAs and all those will get in trouble. But we're going to talk about what it was like back in the 1990s working at Microsoft. We're going to see you right after this break. I'm Nathan Mumm. We got Jonathan here, David Brown behind the board. We'll see you after this.
Did you know that up to 12 to 15% of Americans grind their teeth at night while they sleep? Yeah, it's called bruxism. I used to work at a sleep lab, and we used to measure that, and it leads to a lot of problems like headaches and destroys your teeth. It wears down the enamel, and it's just very hard on your mouth.
So every once in a while I'll wake up, my jaw will hurt. Do you think I'm grinding my teeth at night?
Yep.
Well, so how do you go about protecting this then?
The number one recommended way of protecting yourself from teeth grinding is what's called a night guard, which is a custom fitted prosthetic that you put inside your mouth. It usually runs, hundreds of dollars, but I know our sponsor, Smile Brilliant, can get you custom fitted night guards for as little as $45 a piece.
So if you go to smilebrilliant.com and use TechTime Radio at checkout, you can receive 20% off your complete order. So visit smilebrilliant.com and use the TechTime Radio at checkout code. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, have you heard of the highbrow drivel?
No, but it sounds smarty pants to me.
Highbrow drivel delivers hilarious takes from serious experts. Every week, comedian Anthony Janot introduces one of his comedian friends to an academic, scientist, politician, or expert of some kind.
Oh yeah? And what do they do?
Over the course of roughly an hour, the group will offer thought-provoking topics, expert guests, and hilarious commentation.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Host Anthony Janot is critically acclaimed stand-up comedian who has sold out shows in Australia, England, Scotland, Sweden, and more. But we're talking specifically about his podcast now called The Highbrow Drivel. Topics range from ethics and artificial intelligence to astronomy and dinosaurs.
Really? Oh, I love dinosaurs. Do they talk about owls?
Every week, it's a new comedian, a new expert, but the same highbrow drivel. Highbrow Drivel is available on all major podcast players and at www.highbrowdrivel.com. Again, that's www.highbrowdrivel.com.
Yeah, that sounds like smart nonsense. Can't wait to listen.
Welcome back to Tech Time Radio with Nathan Mumm. We just had some more of our Warrior Sugar Baby Bourbon, 80 proof, $20. And you know what? It is getting better and better and better as the day goes along. This is phenomenal. What is your take on it, Jonathan?
So with the additional sips here, like we've mentioned in the last episode,
We have different palettes.
We have a different palette.
We do.
And
Mine's good, and yours is a little bit crazy. But
yeah,
okay,
and so
I get
I'll
you.
drink a rye whiskey straight.
Yeah.
And this here seems maybe more something that I might mix with rather than sip straight.
So you'd mix this with like an old fashioned and other syrup, or what would you mix this with?
Well, anything that you would use like your brown sugar bourbon for, it's got that similar ingredient that you could swap this in.
Is this better than Fireball? Because we were trying to compare it, and I said, well, it's like Fireball, brown sugar bourbon. Would you rather have this than a Fireball mix?
So Fireball goes really heavy on the cinnamon.
It does.
This does not. This sticks more to the brown sugar, even though they've got a hint of cinnamon in here.
Yep.
It's really more based about the brown sugar than the cinnamon.
I'll tell you, for $20 a bottle, this is replacing my brown sugar bourbons that I used to have all the time. All right. Well, we are going to have a special segment. We're going to start it out here, and it's a 3-part series.
Microsoft in the 1990s.
Watch as Windows integrates Lotus 123 with Miami Vice. Now we can take this Ferrari and paste it right into Windows Right. Now how much do you think Microsoft Windows is worth? Don't answer. Wait until you see Windows Right and Windows Paint, and then listen to what else you get at no extra charge. The MS-DOS Executive, an appointment calendar, a card file, a notepad, a clock, a control panel, a terminal, a print spooler, a RAM driver, and, can you believe it, Reversi. That's right, all these features in Reversi, all for just $99. It's an incredible value, but it's true.
Welcome to the special Microsoft segment.
All right, that was our Steve Ballmer selling Microsoft Windows that comes with a clock, comes with a calendar.
And Reversi.
And Reversi was the big deal at the end there. It comes with Reversi. He said that twice.
Nobody remembers
Writer?
Microsoft Reversi.
Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, yes, they do.
No.
What are you talking about? So then we went to Minesweeper. That's Minesweeper is the upgraded version of Reversi. Reversi was the first game that you played.
Sure.
And then it was followed by Solitaire.
Yes, that's what people remember.
That's what you remember, the cards falling down and bouncing, and you'd be like, yeah.
Only if you beat the game, though.
Oh, that's right. Well, I did pretty well on that, so I would do it. But I would also not use the same rules because you could change the rules. You could flip one card over and you could do it unlimited times. So
right.
that would give you the ability. All right, well, welcome to our Microsoft segment. We're going to be talking about Landman, token rings. We're going to be talking about Windows for Workgroups and Xenix Mail. All of these things were available at Microsoft in the early 1990s. Now, my life right out of college started working at a company. I didn't finish college. Still this day, I'm trying to finish college. I started working for a software company, and we won't go into, if you want to find out how I got the job at Microsoft, it is unbelievable. You can just Google Mumm's the Word on the internet at the Everett Herald, and it will come on up, Mumm's the Word, and I guarantee you will find it. It talks all about my story about getting to Microsoft. But as we got to Microsoft, first couple years I worked at Microsoft, 1993, 94, the first 2 years I was a vendor. So I worked at Microsoft.
So you weren't a blue badge?
I was not a blue badge. That is the signification that says that you're a Microsoft employee. I turned to be a Microsoft blue badge at the beginning of 1995. So I started out as a vendor. Now, there was a huge lawsuit that happened in the early 90s that Microsoft essentially ended up hiring a lot of these vendors as full-time employees, and I was one of these people that got a full-time job at a later time. But a vendor at the very beginning of Microsoft's time was treated just like a Microsoft employee. There was not a real stigma between one or the other. It just meant that Microsoft didn't have enough time to hire you, so they were hiring from tons of different companies so they could keep up with the staff itself. So let's talk about it. In May 22nd, 1990, Microsoft launched Windows 3.0, and that's what you heard that commercial from Steve Ballmer as a part of our opening segment. So that was it. Windows was replacing OS 2 at Microsoft, and that was a big deal because IBM had OS 2. Microsoft spent a lot of time writing some applications for it, and all of a sudden what happened is there was a big memo that was sent out on May 16th, 1991. Bill Gates sent out a memo that said OS 2 partnership is over and that Microsoft would create its own platform on Windows and Windows NT kernel. So Windows NT is a completely different aspect, and we'll talk a little bit about it today. It was pretty interesting. But essentially, they decided that Windows would become their favorite platform to develop.
Now, you said a memo. Now, this wasn't like a post or an email that came out.
So let's just talk about this. This is 1991. We're using Token Wing. We are using Xenix Mail. We are using a terminal service to get mail back and forth. No one would read their email. Essentially, what would happen if you wanted to communicate with somebody at Microsoft, they had these things called the mail copy room. And in there, they had slots of everybody's name. And what you would do is you would put and print out something that you'd want to send it to somebody, put it in a manila envelope, put it into an outgoing bin with whoever they were at what office they were located at that you would find on the Xenix Mail directory. And it would send them over a memo so they could open it up and read it and then respond back to you. So it was all done in the very early 1990s movies, the early 1985 movies where you see that person working in the mail copy room and he's moving things back and forth. That is how Microsoft got its mail back and forth at the company.
Leading tech company still using paper.
So it was using paper. Well, at the time, okay, we didn't have the internet, right? So this is 1990, right? So we were working for Windows for Workgroups was the big deal. We were coming up with removing X&S protocol on Microsoft Campus, which was a very nice protocol that you could use within the network itself. We were launching an IP protocol, which was brand new. So TCP/IP was a brand new protocol. We were putting in 10-100 network cards into people's PCs. And what were we doing? As a tech, I started out my very first job working at PC Install. So PC Install was building 24 on the Microsoft campus. So this Microsoft main campus were buildings 1 through 8, but guess what building that was never existed? Building 7. So if anybody was ever new, they would tell you to go deliver something to Building 7, which was never built. And so that was the initiation.
Go to Building 7 and get your skyhooks.
Yeah, so my first week, I had a couple deliveries to Building 7, and I drove around, and I couldn't find where Building 7 was, and I went back to my boss, and they're all cracking a joke and said, "Oh, welcome to Microsoft." Okay, so PC Install. We would get the new machines that were being distributed to every new employee. So if you had a new employee that was joining the company, vendor or Microsoft employee, we would set up that machine.
Right.
Big, compact LTE laptops with docking station. These are 386 PCs that were laptops. And what we were doing most of the time in there is we were working on installing sound cards. Back in the olden days, they had IRQ ports. So you could only set up a sound card on a certain IRQ port. And we would open up these cases, put these sound cards in, make sure the network card loaded. We would manually buy disks. That's what we have here. We had disks that we would load the operating system. You put one disk in, and then you take it out. You put another disk in, and take it out, another disk in, and you would load up on the hard drive all the information that was available and deliver it to people.
Now, if you didn't have YouTube, if you didn't have Spotify, if you didn't have a Zoom video call, what are you using your sound card for?
So you were using our sound card back then. You were losing it so you could listen to your CD if you had because
your physical CDs, if you wanted to listen during work.
Yeah, if you wanted to listen to work. And because Microsoft was really on the cutting edge at the time, they were developing some CD stuff like Encarta and some of these other type of applications that were starting to get audio and video embedded into the components. So it was a really big deal to have a sound. And it was all the Sound Blaster card. Let me just tell you, if you're Sound Blaster and Turtle Beach, those were the two cards that we would install into every single machine that was there. All right. So as we went down into 1992, Microsoft then released Windows 3.1.1 and for workgroups, and that was it. This was the big operating system. This was the one that worked really well. You have Windows. You then had the ability to have your mail, which was still Xenix Mail, and it was moving to Microsoft Mail at the time. It was Microsoft Mail 32. And you could then now start reading email on your desktop client back and forth, and that was revolutionary.
Now, if you're still not really in the internet era,
yep,
is it really email here?
Well, yeah, because it's internal. So I could send an email instead of me having to put my information into interoffice mail. Now, interoffice mail still existed. So if I wanted to do any receipts or anything I needed to do, there was no scanners that were working back then at the time. You'd still have to send it over to HR, and they'd have to scan all the items there. The mail copy room was really important because you got your newsletter every week. It was called the Micro News.
And that was the only way to know what was going on with the company, because they wouldn't send out mass emails for the company. That wasn't something that was allowed or that was really frowned upon, because our mail system couldn't handle a global email. It probably would have shut the servers down. So you would go into your mail copy room on Fridays and you'd get your micro news, and it looked like an old newspaper. Everybody would open up. They'd have wanted ads in there. There's people selling used equipment. It was a good old-fashioned little nickel type of magazine that you would read through about Microsoft itself.
So how many emails would you get in a day?
So we're in 1992.
Right.
I would get probably 3
in a whole day.
In a whole day. And if I got 3 I wouldn't check. I'd probably check it in the morning. I'd probably check one right after lunch, and then I'd check it before I leave. And if I got one, then most of the time, instead of responding in an email, I would walk down to the person. They say, hey, come in. If you got some time, let's talk about something. And I would just go and walk down and talk to somebody if I got an email. So that was essentially what was available. Now, all of a sudden, we're starting to move up to 1993. By 93, Windows had become a widely used graphical user interface. Fortune magazine named Microsoft in 1993 the most innovative company. That's when I started working there, operating in the year. It had a infringement class action suit that was brought by Apple Computers and other computer industry stores. Essentially, Microsoft was now creating a new line of its operating system called Windows NT 3.1. Or I believe it was called Daytona was the beta name for it. Or that may be the 3.5.1. I can't remember if that was 3.1 or 3.5.1. But essentially, they were coming out with their own operating system.
So are you still in the PC install department at this time?
So 1993, I'm just finishing off the PC installs, and now I'm starting to move over into a roaming tech. Essentially, I would go to this building called Imperial Square, and I would sit there, and I would get tasks in buildings 8 and 9, and if there was
not building 7,
and if there was anything that needed to be done, I would drive my car on over, and I would park there, and I'd take care of stuff. And so I'd do deal. Now 94 comes around, and all of a sudden I moved up to, I was now working in what was called a mini. Essentially, I was working in building 1. This was the NT building, and I was in the garage. As you pull into the garage in building 1, at the very back wall, there was this little storage area, and that's where the techs would go into. So in the middle of the snow, it was freezing outside. You had to bundle up. But we'd sit down there, and we'd have a call tracking tool called Call Tracker, and we would wait for tickets. And when a ticket came on, we'd run on up to take care of items in 1994.
So even then, the IT department is still in the basement.
Still in the basement, absolutely. And you get a call up, and you run up, and then you get back down, and that. But now, all of a sudden, 1995 comes on out. Okay? Microsoft Bob, a graphical user interface, comes on out in 1995.
Oh, that was huge.
That was big. It sucked. All right, the interface was discontinued in 1996 by poor sales, but essentially we have the release on August 24th, 1995. Microsoft releases Windows 95, and Nathan is now moving up into the area, and he has just been offered a Microsoft Blue Badge to work in a group called SSG.
Out of the basement.
I became a senior tech for a couple buildings, and then after that, I got an offer to work because I was very proficient on fixing Toshiba laptops. Toshiba laptops were it, and so I could go in and I could fix a laptop, take it apart, put everything back together, work on the BIOS with that, and the engineering company at Toshiba. There was a lot of Toshiba laptops across Microsoft, so I got hired specifically for my laptop skills of being able to break down a laptop and repair it back as a Microsoft Blue Badge. 1995 comes around, we release a brand new operating system called Windows 95. Windows 95 is the biggest thing to hit. It was huge. Parties, throwing, it was a brand new operating system. It is still what you kind of see on the user interface in today's Windows products with the Windows bar in the bottom left-hand corner. And it was a huge extravaganza. So we are going to end our segment here. When we come back in our part 2, we're going to talk about Windows 95 release party. We're going to talk about the craziness that happened. We're going to talk about the gold CDs that were available, that were passed out. Everybody had hundreds of copies of Windows 95. You get them for free. They were all available. We're going to be talking about 96, 97, and 98. Well, 96 probably. 95 and 96. Maybe a little bit of 1997. I branch off into a unique job. It's called executive support services. We'll talk a little bit about that. Not tons I can talk about, but I can talk about some aspects that we talked about.
And that's part 2 coming
That's
next
part 2
episode.
coming up on the next episode. And then after that, we have my Xbox original stuff that we'll be talking about too. So thank you for joining us in this segment. Hopefully you enjoyed our Microsoft segment. We're going to take a break. When we come on back, we have Jonathan's Just the Facts moment. We have our pick of the day. I'm Nathan Mumm. We got Jonathan Mumm here, my brother, that's been joining us, and David Brown behind the board. We'll see you after this commercial break. Hey, Mike, as a business owner, why do we form an LLC or a corporation?
Well, that's pretty simple. We want to protect ourselves personally from the liability of the company.
That's right, Mike. The very next thing we should be doing as business owners is protecting ourselves personally from the finances of the company.
Right. Yeah, that's why you want to get help, and you can get help from the Business Doctor, which was founded by Dr. Glenn Smith, PhD in Business Management, Accounting, and Finance. Schedule your free business evaluation and consultation at thebusinessdoctor.us.
Enroll in the Rapid Business Credit Builder program and get up to 100K business credit under the company's EIN and the DUNS number in less than 6 months. The DUNS number is really important for your rating on when you purchase other items from other businesses, never having to use personal credit ever again. That's thebusinessdoctor.us or call 866-383-1030. Again, that's 866-383-1030 or thebusinessdoctor.us.
Visit the Business Doctor today.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
So I just found out that 4.4 million people started business last year in the U.S. alone.
Yeah, I know. I was one of them. And I bet a whole bunch of those were e-commerce businesses.
That's right. A lot of them are growing so quickly now that they can't keep up with orders. This happened to someone I know. They started a business on Etsy. Then they moved to Amazon, and they're crushing it, and they make stickers. Pretty soon, they had too much inventory in their house. They were packing everything themselves, printing, postage, going to the post office all the time. And they actually ended up spending more time with the labor work than they did producing stickers.
Yeah, it's a big waste of time if you're running your own business.
Absolutely. But I do have good news. You don't have to ship your own orders if you run an online store. Fulfillrite can take care of your order fulfillment for you, saving you time, money, and stress. That means more time doing what you love.
Really? Delegating grunt work like shipping to someone you can trust is the secret to business success. Fulfillrite is the most trusted name in order fulfillment. The reviews back the statement up too. Fulfillrite has 5 stars on Shopify, Google reviews, and Trustpilot from over 100 businesses, just like your buddies.
Yep. Wow. I'm going to go to fulfillrite.com right now, and I'm going to ask for a quote, but I'm going to use the special TechTime link, which is fulfillrite.com/TechTime. That's fulfillrite.com/TechTime. They're offering $100 off new signups for TechTime listeners. You get a lot when you sign up from these guys. Service includes same-day shipping, real-time order and inventory tracking, dedicated customer service, and volume-based discount.
That sounds like a great way to get your time back if your business is really taking off. To learn more about how Fulfillrite can grow your business, go to fulfillrite.com/TechTime for $100 off when you sign up.
I'm signing up today.
Just the facts, man.
Well, Nathan, last episode, I got into the summary at the end. We talked a lot about female involvement in the video game industry, in the movie industry. And this is a bit of a follow-up to the last week in that we talked about Blizzard Entertainment and the lawsuit that California has charged Activision Blizzard with because of the discrimination against females alleged and the other allegations that have gone on. Well, this past week, Blizzard's CEO stepped down.
Yep.
Over these allegations, their head HR person also stepped down. And in their place, just like we talked about last week, they have appointed as their new CEO a female, Jen O'Neill, but also another CEO, Mike Ybarra.
So, he used to work at Microsoft, didn't he?
He did in the Xbox department.
Aha.
And Jen O'Neill had previously led Vicarious Visions, a video game studio that then became part of Blizzard. So a bit of change at Blizzard already, like we talked about last week, getting more females higher up in the video game industry, giving them those leadership positions. It's a little unfortunate, perhaps, that she's still sharing it with another guy, but we'll see how that goes.
We'll see how that goes. That's a great follow-up. And I know we have a couple other things to be following up on as we have our next hour starting soon. Our second hour, we're going to have our litter segment. We have our Protect Yourself Today, talking about cyber breaches, identity attacks, theft across the world. We also have a game development kit story on our Gamer Time, and a segment said, He Said What? Now it's our pick of the day. Warrior Sugar Baby Bourbon, 80 proof, $20. Double thumbs up for Mr. Mumm. I'm going to give it a happy thumbs. What do you say there, Jonathan?
As a straight drinker, unfortunately, it's a thumbs down, but it's a great mixer. So if that's what you want, go for that.
There you go. All right, I'm Nathan Mumm. We got Jonathan, David Brown. We'll see you next hour. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on TechTime Radio. We hope that you had a chance to have that moment today in technology. The fun doesn't stop there. We recommend that you go to techtimeradio.com and join our fan list for the most important aspect of staying connected and winning some really great monthly prizes. We also have a few other ways to stay connected, including subscribing to our podcast on any podcast service, from Apple to Google and everything in between. We're also on YouTube, so check us out on youtube.com/techtimeradio, all one word. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did making it for you. From all of us at TechTime Radio, remember, Mumm's the word. Have a safe and fantastic week.